Alright, welcome. Today I've got bass guitar fretboard notes. I'm going to cover all the notes on the fretboard and give you some ideas and tips on how to get these memorized a little easier, make it a little easier on yourself as opposed to just looking at the same being overwhelmed. So that's what we're going to go over today. So if you're new to my YouTube channel, I want to play bass, subscribe, hit that bell notification, get in the loop and don't miss a beat. I cover lots of bass guitar tips, give some bass guitar lessons here, and occasional giveaways. And I'm down with the bass instructor of the How to Play Bass online course at iwanttoPlayBass.com. So bass guitar fretboard notes, that's what we're going to talk about today. Now an easy way to do this, just don't mind the 5 string, just focus on these 4 down here, E, A, D, G, right here, those 4. If you've got a 5 string, that's fine. It'll all work the same because the B's still the same tuning pattern as everything. So the only way to look at this and just see what's going on, we've got our 12 notes. That's every note in the Western music of our frequencies and everything that we have been trained to know as notes. Okay, there's more than that. There's a lot more than that, but we are used to this way, these frequencies, and this is how Western music's been set up for years. So that's where you want to start. You can venture into the other frequencies and stuff like that. That's some neat stuff, and I think it's going to, in time that'll catch on. People will start using that in some nice ways, and we'll learn to acquire that taste as well. But for now, just stick with the basics. Let's make it simple. Keep it simple right now. So you've got every note right there. And here's our octave. This is the same note as that. Okay, so we know that 12th fret, and usually you've got 2 dots here that tell you that that's your 12th fret. You don't have to count frets. You're probably going to have 2 dots somewhere on there. My 2 dots aren't on the fretboard. They're right here. They show it right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I've got 2 dots there. Got the 2 dots, and I've got the 1 dot, 9th fret, 7th, 5th, and 3rd fret. So those are reference points that make it a little easier for you. So just take it in blocks. You've got the first 5 frets. 5 frets, and the fret's the metal wiring here. It's not the in between the frets. This is the space between the frets. This metal is the fret. You don't ever want to play on the fret unless you're doing a harmonic. You play between the frets, but this is your fret right here. The metal piece, this is the fret here. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets. So anything before that 5th fret, you can look at it. Those notes start with your E, and just take that block: E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp or A flat, A, and then you've got, that's it. That's your 5th fret. 5th fret is your A, and your next string is an A as well. So we know that A, B, and then just the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it starts over: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And there's come some point you're going to have to memorize these for sure. You're basically going to have to remember that this is a B, that you're going to have to memorize these. So E, start with E. We know our string, E, A, D, G, right? So then we know on the E, the next note, natural note, is an F. It's not an F sharp, it's an F. That's your 1st fret. Just remember, F is always there. And then you've got an octave, so you know that this F, this is an F here as well. So that's one way to know where you're at, is just by octaves. You know that there's an octave's always an octave higher. Okay, so you've got F, and then you got G. Remember, always the 3rd fret. Just remember, always the 3rd fret is G. Okay, these are going to be your reference points as you move around the neck, so you'll know what's going on. So just remember, 3rd fret is always G. 5th fret is always the next string up higher, an open string. Okay, so the 5th fret is your open A string, same as your open A string. It's just fretted there. Then you've got A, so you've got open A here, A, and an open A, same A. And you've got B, C. C is your 3rd fret, and then D is your open D, 5th fret. It's always going to be the next string up is going to be open, same as that. So we know open D here, we know this is a D as well. And then you got D, and you got E, F. Now we're going. See, so now it's getting ready to repeat. So we know that's an E because it's the octave of this E, right? We know this is an F because we've got our F here, our octave there. And G, we know this is the third fret's always a G. We know that's a G, and this G, this is the 5th fret, so that's our open G. We know the G string and the 5th fret are the same note. The open string and the 5th fret below is the same note. So those are your reference points. Memorize those. Memorize this G. So you really just remember a couple of them. You know, you gotta remember the F, G, A, well, F, G, B, C, and that's it. That's all you gotta remember is where the F is, where the G is, where the B is, and the C is. Because everything else, you know your strings are E, A, D, G, right? So you know the 5th fret is always going to be either A, D, G, okay? And then that one you're going to have to memorize C, but you know the octave, okay? So that's all that is basically. You know that's your octave, and that's that. So just remember the F, G, B, C, okay? You remember those 5, and you know where everything is. You know where everything is. Those will be used as your reference points, okay? You know that this is an F here. And then, so you'll have this end covered, and you know that if it's a sharp, that means it's a half step above. If you see an F sharp, that means that F is a half step higher now, which this is F sharp. If you see a G sharp, you know that this G is sharp, so it means it's higher. It's sharp, it's making it sharper, so it's just making it higher. Flatten it, just taking a little air out of it, so you're lessening it. So just remember that. Sharpening it, you're fine tuning it, you're making it sharper, you're moving it up, and then flattening it, you're letting some air out of it, so you're losing down a half step. So just remember sharps and flats. That's how you should react to a sharp or a flat. You know a flat's less, you know a sharp's sharper, moving it forward. So those are your 5 to remember right there. F, G, B, C. Remember those. C is always the 3rd fret, B is always the 2nd fret, G is always the 3rd fret, and F is always the 1st fret. And then from there, you can just go right there. Now that you know those, you can always reference. You'll always know where you're at. You can go, you'll automatically know what these are, because you know here's your E, right? Here's your A. So what comes after your A? A whole step after A is a B, okay? So whole step after A is B. What comes after B? The half step is your C. So you know that. So now you can move to this pattern, this position here, and you've got, you know, A, B, C, D, E, F. You know D, E, F because you've got D, open D, and then you know a whole step. You know your E's here because it's an octave here, and you know your F is right above E, a half step above E. So you got D, E, F, G, A, because you know you've got G, A right here, and then from A, now you know this is C because you've got your octave C here. You know that's a C because of this C. And there's your octave. And if you ever get in question and you are up here and you're like, what note is that? You can say that. Where's my octave at? Just jump a whole string and go up a whole step. So you skip a whole string and up a whole step, and that's an octave. And that's a go-to for slapping. So that is, that's how you can work your way around the fretboard. So just remember it in blocks. You got your first 4 frets. Well, don't count the open string. You got your next 4. So if you got that block, and you've got that block, and there you're at your octave. You're at your 12th fret right there. And then from that 12th fret, you know how everything's laid out because you already know how everything's laid out. But when you get here, it just repeats everything up here, but up an octave, okay? So here's our E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. just remember that you just got to memorize some of this stuff for sure. But those are, those are your fretboard notes. That's how you can reference your notes so you're not lost. You can reference this video to recap how to find these notes. But that's how you find them. And then as we get, I'll get into show you some patterns and stuff like that, because patterns are critical to beginning as a bassist. You want to memorize patterns and stuff like that just to help you get started. But then you don't want to use them as a crutch. You don't want to be leaning on them too much. You want to know your harmonies and stuff like that, as opposed to just a bunch of patterns. But they help you get started, and they help you give you reference points and stuff like that to go off of. So that is your bass guitar fretboard notes, and that's going to be it. So if you got some value out of this, help me help you, and hit that like button. And guess what? I'll catch y'all on the flip flop in the next video. Bye now.